the world is corrupt at that top level, no doubt about it. So I had a major breakdown. I suddenly get a disease, and I'm shitting blood 40 times a day. So now I'm fully like, I've become atheist, don't believe in God. I'm like, if there really is a God, they wouldn't want me to punish me like this. What have I done wrong? I'm just doing good in the world. There's obviously not a God. There's only a devil. If there is a God, it's a devil. Right? I had all these crazy thoughts, and like I just started to hate everything. And obviously you get autoimmune, and now you're shitting yourself. And there's so much fear of going back to your old job, which you hate and you work so hard to get out of. So there's all that disappointment, that failure. So I crashed and burned, and like I just wasted away. I lost like a third of my body weight. The consultant said, you know, I asked the consultant, like, what about diet? What about stress? What about nutrition? You know? She was like, nope, shut up, take the pills. So she gave me two choices: either have your colon removed or be guinea pig for a drug hasn't been tested. She said, I can put you on the wait list for that. So I was like, this is just, forget it, I'd rather die. Forget it. So I left that. And then I had this dark night of the soul moon. I remember this judgment day. I think it's like judgment day, where it's whatever choice you make, it's going to determine your life, whether you go to hell or more heavenly reality. And I had this real crazy flashes, mad intense dreams. And then suddenly, they say that God sends a gift of desperation, but suddenly a day or two later, like a very close friend of my family, Swami Ambikananda, she kind of comes to the rescue and says, you know, you've actually got a gift here. If you can turn this around, you could be an amazing role model with your tenacity to want to help people. So she said, look, I can't guarantee anything, but here, maybe try this and that, from yoga and pranayama and meditation and things like that. So I had to let go of my disbelief, because that's not something I was into at all. Indians, growing up in the UK, generally have been educated out of their culture, so we don't really think that that's cool. So at that time anyway, now it's way more like open, like people into it. But so I was skeptical, but I just gave it a go. And then suddenly, like an uncle of mine also said, you got to read this book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. Actually, Tony Robbins his guru is this guy Joseph Murphy, so read this book, maybe that'll help you. So that came at the same time, and that shifted everything. And I realized the source of all problems and disease is the mind, the unconscious mind.
Yeah, you said that the disease comes from your character.
Yes,
the ego mind.
Disease is character. It's your character.
Can you explain that a little bit?
So actually, Wilhelm Reich also, that's where I got it from. But I realized that this is true by my own experience. Is that so really disease is caused by bad habits that have been going on for too long, right? So
accumulation,
going off your own natural rhythm, right, by either a very strong ego that is stubborn and doesn't want to shift even though when it's told the right information, or because it's just been programmed with bad habits, as a lot of us are programmed with. Now, look at the advertising as we were kids, right? I don't know how old you are, but it was all about sugary cereals, sugar, Coca-Cola, Michael Jackson, Pepsi, you know. It was all just processed food driven advertising to children, right? So I grew up with a really shitty diet. And then also we're really encouraged by our peer groups at school to be cool. You've got to smoke, you got to drink a lot, shitloads of alcohol, not just like a wine, but 15 shots of tequila.
To be
right?
really cool, you got
to drink 15 shots of tequila at least. So I wanted to be really cool, right? So this is all created by the fact I was bullied a lot as a kid, as the racism thing and all that shit. So I really wanted to fit in, right? I really wanted to be in the cool gang. And to get into that cool gang, you got to be like them. So, you know, doing acid at 14 years old, smoking shitloads of weed when I was a kid, and all that. And
so the identification of a character. that is very much linked
It's
to.
formed by your
Yeah.
early childhood experiences, 0 to 7 years old, and then it carries on through your school, media, family, you know, the interaction with your mum and dad. Like, my mum and dad had a horrible relationship. I'm constantly living in this stormy environment, a lot of abuse going on between the two. So all of this affects your psyche, your emotion, your state, your mind, and your brain has neurology. And you could argue, right, on a physical level, your reality that you perceive is actually a reflection of the neurology of the brain, because that's where your memories are, your habits, your patterns of behavior,
Stories.
and so on, right? All the stories going on. So that's why I say disease is a character thing, because that character creates the lifestyle, the habits, the patterns of behavior that is going to lead someone towards disease, which is what happened to me.
It's a lovely way of getting people to think differently about the thing that we often think is external, that we often think is outside, like attacking us, the world's, not being nice to me.
Yeah, but the cool thing is we can change. We can reformat the drive completely, right? We can upgrade the hardware, right? We can change complete. In fact, every 7 years, every cell in your body is replenished. There's a few heart cells and brain cells that don't. They tend to stay with you for your life, but most of your body is constantly replenishing, right? So you have a new gut very fast. Within a few weeks, you got a whole new gut. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, I can rebuild myself. I don't have to have the disease. So that's why you have to change your mindset. Once you start to change the mindset, a lot of the disease also comes from emotional stress and tension that's created by thoughts from the past that you haven't been able to resolve, right? So guilt, shame, failure, envy, anger, hatred, these like dark emotions, they create tension in the body. They create like this like frustration inside, and that makes your breathing go erratic, over breathing, maybe mouth breathing, and it makes you also choose different lifestyle.
We'll also
choices.
choose, and Bruce Lipton, great at speaking to this, is makes you choose things that are going to reinforce that.
Yeah.
So it
becomes familiar.
Yeah, of course, because you want to be proven right. That's why the ego also, if it doesn't feel worthy, it doesn't feel enough, it will try and prove itself right.
Or as a way to suppress the pain, because dark emotions create pain. So, an antidote to that is beer, right? Antidote to anxiety, or weed, right? Or sugary foods, right?
So did you do much therapy, or was it...
There was no... I never had therapy. No, because...
Seem proud of that.
That was later on. I got into all that through the Tantra world. But I did my own through the books I read, and my Swami, she's like a therapist.
Yeah.
And just changing my environment. I like it. So in order to fix this disease, I couldn't be in the environment of my family. Because that is what was part of the big problem, right? It was the environment I was in. Panicking parents who hated each other, angry and pissed off, and there was so much resentment and feeling I failed them, and then them being disappointed in me and all this shit, and then getting sick, and it's like, oh my god, my son's like got no hope, he's just a disaster. That's why I was thinking, like, that's what my mum's thinking. And disease is actually like these sorts of autoimmune diseases, if you go back, quite often it's the relationship with the mum. If you have disappointment or disruption in that very core primal relationship, because that's the first interaction you have when you're born, and actually as you develop in your mum, if you fall out with your mum, right, it causes crazy trauma. So especially if you spend a life feeling like you've disappointed them, and they're disappointed in you, right, this can lead to emotional trauma, like deep-seated.